last presentation, last slide. So what about the COVID-19 news? Did you trust the numbers released by the politicians? And we know that they said big lies about this topic, even in USA, in England, and the France, Romania, Turkey, and everywhere. So because of that, we should take care about this topic, and we always try to be clever and to make some calculations, and then we decide when we go forward. Thanks for your patience.
Thank you very much, Ekrem. Thank you very much for an interesting presentation. If any questions from my colleagues to you?
If I may,
please, Mirela. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for interfering.
Yes, congratulations, Ekrem, for your very interesting subject approach and for your presentation. I know your interest in this field. You combine also neuroscience with economics and social behaviors. And I think, given your expertise in this field, if you can tell us which factors affect more the behavioral economics, the psychological, the emotional, cultural, social, or maybe other factors?
The best factor is the psychological, actually. So we are emotional, very emotional, and but what affects our emotion, it is also important. For example, if you have a diabetic, and you can get angry easily. So when you get angry, so you can't make your decisions very correctly. This is obvious. And if geography also important thing, if the people live in the mountains, have mountains, because the life conditions are so hard, so that they are really very strong, very hard, not so emotional, because the climate doesn't allow them. But in the seaside, everybody, when you go to the Spain, you know, you see that everybody is very comfortable and they don't care about that. And they make the siesta and they don't care about that. So many things affect, but the emotion is so important. So because of that, during the election time, the politicians they try to give some emotional things. For example, when they visit the other cities, and we see in the television program, the prime minister just take the baby and they give the smile, and they interested in the children in the supermarkets, etc. So this is not real thing, actually. These are the emotional thing too. So we just started that, how good person is this, and it's so emotional. So this is the best factor is the emotion.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you, Ekrem. Thank you very much for your presentation. Thank you very much for the movie. I think just woke up all counting where the ball is. Thank you very much, as always, for welcoming my colleagues together in Turkey. And for sure, we will keep in touch for research and for other events like this one. A pleasure to see you. And hopefully we will see again physically when the opportunity will come. Thank you again. And now I will give the word and I will give the floor to a new friend of ours, but for sure we will have a smooth and very good relation from now on. Professor Tatiana Spasesca from University of St. Clement Ohridski, Bitola in Republic of North Macedonia, with a very interesting, I think, for all of us at the moment, how do the microeconomic determinants underpin the capital market development in North Macedonia? Professor Spasesca, please, the virtual floor is yours, and we are here following your presentation.
Thank you, Catalina.
Thank you.
Dear colleagues, dear participants at this international conference, Allow me to warmly thank the organizers of this important conference for giving me the privilege of being keynote speaker at the 14th International Conference on the Competitiveness and Stability in the Knowledge-Based Economy, organized by the Faculty of Economics and Business Administration, University of Craiova. For me, it is an honor and a pleasure. And I would also like to extend to all of you a very warm welcome to this online version of speech. The topic of my presentation is how do the macroeconomic determinants underpin the capital market development in North Macedonia. It is well known, the main objective of this study is to analyze the macroeconomic determinants that influence on the capital market development with an overview of the capital market development and its determinants in North Macedonia. It is well known that the capital market is the driving force of the market economies, and it plays a crucial role in the development process in each country. Such role is related to its main function in the mobilization of financial resources and channeling the savings and investment between suppliers and users of capital, of course, with the support of the financial intermediaries. Thus, a well-developed domestic capital market allows governments, allows companies to access long-term finance, increases the investments, and promotes sustainable growth with greater opportunities, employment opportunities. So the development of the capital market in transition economies has a crucial importance for their economic growth, since it could be the main source for funding the corporate sector. For developing economies such as North Macedonia, the process of accelerating the economic growth is dependent of the availability of long-term capital, which actually could be found on the capital market, since it is designed to enable the companies to raise funds at lower cost to achieve their financial flexibilities, and at the same time provides a link between the savings and investments, directing the flow of savings to productive investments, which in turn accelerates economic growth. But I would like to point that in our country, the businesses prefer to use expensive bank loans to finance their business activities instead to obtain the necessary financial resources through issuing of securities on the capital market. Actually, the financial system in North Macedonia is characterized by the dominant role of the banking institutions. According to the latest report of the National Bank of Republic of North Macedonia, even 80% of the whole assets are actually owned by the banks. This means that the commercial banks provide the businesses with financial resources to finance their investment projects. We can conclude that in our country, the bank loans still have a dominant participation in the financing of the Macedonian businesses. Opposite to the funding through bank loans, providing the necessary financial resources through issuing of securities has marginal importance, and this means that the capital market importance for the Macedonian financial system is on a very low level. Actually, the modern history of the capital market in North Macedonia is associated with the structural changes in the 19th or 20th century, when the process of country transition started, which resulted in establishment of many shareholding companies, which needs a suitable market infrastructure for transfer the newly created securities. And as a direct consequence, as a result of that, the Macedonian Stock Exchange was established in 1996 in order to provide a successful transition process in the Macedonian economy and to help the process of transformation of the capital from state ownership into private one. The growth of the Macedonian Stock Exchange has been relatively slow, and especially has a poor response from the private companies wishing to raise the capital. At the beginning, the first several years of the functioning of the Macedonian Stock Exchange, it served privatization purposes, and the listing of the shareholding companies was on a voluntary basis. And I would like to stress that only 2 shareholding companies were listed on the stock market, on the official stock market. In order to intensify the activities, in order to intensify the development of the stock market in our country, the authorities were taken over many measures, but the whole development of the Macedonian Stock Exchange is actually based on 2 projects of mandatory listings. The first one was implemented during 2002, when the number of listed companies increased from 2 up to 78 companies. And the second project of mandatory listing was implemented during 2013, when the number of listed companies increased to 116 companies. And as a result of that, the market capitalization of the listed companies increased to 20.35% of GDP, and saw a rise of about 277%. The main objective, the main aim of the introduction of the mandatory listing was to increase the trading material offering, to increase the transparency of the shareholding companies which were listed on the stock market, and at the same time to motivate them to use the capital market as a form for funding the investment projects. Since the development of the capital market, is usually considered through its size and its depth, in the following graphs are shown the indicators of the size and the depth of the capital market in North Macedonia during the period from 2003 to up to 2021. An indicator of the size of the capital market is market capitalization to GDP ratio, and indicators of the liquidity of the capital market are stock market turnover to GDP ratio and stock market turnover to market capitalization ratio. In figure 1, are shown the values of the first indicator, market capitalization to GDP ratio, during the period from 2003 up to 2021. And as you can see from the graph, the period from 2003 up to 2007 is characterized by a rapid growth of this indicator. Actually, the stock market capitalization to GDP ratio increased from 6.62% in 2003 up to 31.84% in 2007, when it reached its peak. But after that, the following 2008, this indicator dramatically decreased under the influence of the global financial crisis, which has a negative influence on the capital market functioning in North Macedonia. But additional determinant that was the situation was the fact that our country didn't get the desired status as a member country of the NATO alliance. Such negative trend continued to 2012, and after then, starting from 2013 up to 2021, these indicators shows continuous rise, of course, with small fluctuations. The second very important indicator of the development of the capital market is the depth of the market, which usually refers to its liquidity. That is the speed with which the investors can convert their securities into cash and vice versa. And similarly, like the first indicator, The both indicators of the stock market liquidity evidence a growing trend during the period from 2003 up to 2007, when actually they achieved their maximum values, and after that they recorded a huge decline. For example, in figure 2, you can see that in 2003, the stock market turnover to GDP ratio increased from 0.87% of GDP up to 8.53% of GDP in 2007. On the other side, the turnover ratio increased from 13% up to 27% in 2007. As you can see, the following years up to date are evidence of a sharp failure of these indicators. Since there is a growing number of studies which have reached a consensus that stock market development has a significant positive impact on a long-run economic growth, many researchers attempt to identify and to discuss the macroeconomic determinants that underpin the capital market development, and their studies confirmed some common macroeconomic factors such as economic growth, banking sector development, trade openness, saving rate, macroeconomic stability, etc. But I would like to point that regarding the relationship between all these macroeconomic determinants and capital market development, the researchers have reached a consensus of only about the positive relationship between economic growth and stock market development. Regarding the relationship between other macroeconomic determinants and capital market development, different studies confirm different results. One of the leading studies about the determinants of the stock market development was the study conducted by Calderon-Rosell in 1991, which suggested that economic development and stock market liquidity are major determinants of the capital market development. But a general criticism to this study is that the liquidity of the stock market is used as an independent variable. Actually, the liquidity of the stock market refers to its depth, and the researchers means that it is more appropriate to use it as a dependent variable, especially in transition economies, developing economies, which have problems with an illiquid capital market. Since the main problem of the capital market functioning in North Macedonia is its illiquidity, in our country, the liquidity of the stock market should be taken as dependent variable, and for that reason, in this study, we use as a dependent variable the liquidity of the stock market, expressed through stock market turnover to GDP ratio and stock market turnover to market capitalization ratio, while as independent variables are used real gross domestic product rate as a measure of the economic activity of the country, gross investment to GDP ratio as a measure of the investment rates in the country, the level of openness of the national economy measured by exports to GDP and imports to GDP, and inflation and reference interest rate as the measures of the macroeconomic stability of the country. All data of this research have been exploited from secondary sources and could be found on the web pages on the Macedonian Stock Exchange, National Bank of Republic of North Macedonia, and State Statistical Office web pages. The empirical study is based on the utilization of the Johansen test of co-integration and the development of a corresponding vector error correction model in order to estimate the relationship, the impact, the magnitude, and the significance of the macroeconomic determinants on stock market development. Regarding the first target, as I mentioned before, we use two target variables. stock market turnover to GDP ratio, and stock market turnover to market capitalization ratio. And the results of our study regarding the analysis for the first target variable are shown in table 1. And based on the findings in table 1, we can conclude that on a long run, two of the regressors, input to GDP rate and interest rate, have a negative influence on the target variable, but statistically significant, while the other four regressors, GDP rate, gross investment to GDP, export to GDP, and inflation rate, have all positive impact on the target variable stock market turnover to GDP ratio, while the impact of gross investment to GDP is statistically insignificant, while the other three regressors have statistically significant impact on the target variable. In order to test the short-run relationship between the target variable and independent variable, we used a wall test, and the results of the wall test are shown in table 2, and they suggest that there is no short-term relationship between the target variable and independent variables. Regarding the analysis of the second target variable, stock market turnover to market capitalization ratio, the results are shown in table 3. And from this table, from the findings in table 3, we can conclude that on a long run, two of the regressors, gross investment to GDP ratio and export to GDP ratio, have a statistically significant positive impact on the target variable, while the other four regressors, GDP rate, import to GDP rate, inflation rate, and interest rate, have all negative impact on the target variable, while the impact of interest rate is statistically insignificant, but the other three regressors have statistically significant impact on the target variable. Similarly, in order to test the short-run relationship between the target variable and the independent variables, we used the wall test, and the results for this target variable have suggest that there is statistically significant short-run relationship between the target variable and independent variables such inflation rate and interest rate, but there is no short-run relationship between the other four regressors and the target variable. So from our analysis, we can conclude that there is a significant long-run relationship between the observed macroeconomic determinants and the stock market liquidity. We find that gross domestic product rate, export to GDP ratio, and inflation rate are important determinants of stock market development measured by stock market turnover to GDP ratio, while gross investment do not prove to be significant. So our findings confirm the results of the related studies that capital market development can accelerate economic growth. Also, we found that inflation rate has positive and statistically significant impact on the stock market development measured by stock market turnover to GDP ratio. And this indicates that the macroeconomic stability has a considerable role in determining stock market liquidity. The export to GDP ratio also is positively associated with the stock market development, and this means that the trade openness benefits financial market development. Regarding the second indicator of the stock market liquidity, that was the turnover ratio, we found that only gross investment and exports have a significant positive impact on the stock market turnover to market capitalization ratio. On the other hand, the gross domestic product, imports, and inflation rate have all a negative and statistically significant impact. The results that gross domestic product has a negative impact on the stock market development is not in line with the results of the previous studies. But such relationship in our country could be explained by the behavior of our economic agents, who maybe in terms of higher rates of economic growth maybe prefer to use services from other financial institutions instead of the banks. So based off all these findings, the policymakers in our country should create and implement strategies that facilitate the macroeconomic determinants which have a significant positive impact on the stock market development. First of all, it is important to create and to implement strategies that foster economic development, since economic development can significantly promote stock market development. And also the policymakers should create policies that promote trade openness, since the trade openness may be encourage the use of equity financing by the main exporting industries, which in turn will increase the demand for equity financing on the stock market. And also the monetary authority should strive to maintain the macroeconomic stability by keeping stable inflation and reference interest rate. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Tatiana, for a very interesting, I think for all of us, very interesting presentation, as we pass now times full of these terms and we feel everything in our pockets. I would like to inquire if any colleagues have questions for this very interesting presentation that you just provided us with.
Yes, if I may.
Yes, please,
Yes.
Andre.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for coming and asking, please.
You spoke about the banking loans, about the capital market. Can you indicate what is the average interest rate of the banking loans and on the capital markets? What is the spread between them?
As I mentioned before, the Macedonian Stock Exchange is a very young institution. He was established in 1996, and it is undeveloped at the moment. This means that our businesses prefer to use bank loans. The interest rate of the bank loans, the average interest rate is about 10%. But I think that our business entities are not informed well about the benefits of the funding through issuing of shares, because our authorities should take on many measures in order to accelerate the development of the Macedonian Stock Exchange. Maybe that is the reason that the business entities in our country prefer to use the expensive bank loans, which in turn decrease their profitability, but yet they prefer to use the bank loans.
Thank you very much. Very clear. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Tatiana. Thank you very much for being together with us here and for this very interesting presentation. Thank you for answering the question. I hope you will stay together with us to be part in this conference for the last hours we have here dedicated to it. And now I will invite Professor Ginevra Gravili from University degli Studi di Bari, Aldo Moro, in Italy, with a very interesting presentation at the moment dedicated to the evolution and human resources management from traditional to metaverse human resources management. As we know, we just crossed this border of everything physical to virtual places. And from the novel Snow Crash, we have this new term, meta-universe, which, as you can mention, is now here presented from human resources management point of view. Thank you very much, Professor Gravili, for being together with us today. And we, of course, listen to you very careful and very attentive.
Good morning and thanks, Catalina.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
It's a pleasure to participate to this conference. I present an excursus of the evolution of human resource management through the analysis of the existing literature on information technology combined with HRM to understand the impact of digitalization on human resource management. This analysis aims to offer a detailed, though not exhaustive analysis of the use posed by the radical transformation of human relationship, offering to managers and scholars some reflections intended to animate the debate on human resource management. Human resources are the highest value for any organization. They are rare, inimitable, and irrepressible mine of production factors. Today, we assist to the evolution of new keywords in the human resource management world, imposed by the evolution of digitalization that is growing within organization, and it is transforming the landscape of economic value creation while opening new and fascinating scenarios in the human resource management processes. An evolution lived from HR traditional processes characterized by control and evolve on platforms, website, newsletter, characterized by an interactive process, by personalization, by experience, in which information is created and sent by an individual and so transmitted to a lot of people in a static way. This is Web 1.0. In the Internet of Contents, human resource management were static, and the purpose was only to obtain and provide information without interaction. Then the need to exchange knowledge has led to a dynamic evolution of the web. Internet users have more than doubled in the last 10 years from 2.18 billion in 2012 to 4.95 billion in January 2022. For the simple manage human resource with the support of technology, the human resource management technique have been enhanced, generating dynamic processes where usability, content sharing, and interactivity represented of a paradigm shift in the human resource cognitive models and in the dominant social form. Social processes are developed, processes in which keywords are conversation, collaboration, relationship. This is Web 2.0. The growth of users of social platform is even faster. They conduct to a conversing culture. Thus, in the perspective of sharing, the relevance of technological tools become drivers of a socio-cultural change. In this phase, human resource managers became conscious of the possibility to influence human resource processing, making them move in a global context. The social human resource management is seen, therefore, as a digital revolution that facilitates co-production of information, social networks, enriching experiences. It is not a technological change, but a new wave of approaching human resource. HRM became part of a two-way relationship characterized by cooperation, participation, and sharing of knowledge. Relational architecture, which was once linear, has become reticular. It has redefined the contents, has reconfigured tools and channels utilized, and it now makes different forms and flow, such as one-to-many, one-to-one, and many-to-many to cohabit. These changes led a growing number of organizations to use social human resource management and rethinking about the tools and the techniques used, generating thus a deep revision of human resource management paradigms and allowing access to huge amount of information. Such voluminous amount of data become a big source and opportunity to manage human resource, transforming the idea of cooperation between users and machine. We are in the Web 3.0. Making a good use of terabyte information requires an holistic cultural change within the organization. With big data associated with human resource management, organizations are facing a new challenge, defining and using human resource strategies focused by an analytic process, characterized by immersion, decentralization, ownership that integrate the benefits of big data to achieve sustainable competitive advantage in this domain. But if still today, on one hand, a lot of firms need to understand the potentialities of big data, at another side, in the last years, the potentialities of technology increased exponentially, and we are in the metaverse era. Consequently, organizations are continuously looking to integrate new technologies into their existing HR processes. The metaverse doesn't refer to a specific type of technology, but is rather a shift in the way we interact with technology. At its essence, the metaverse can be made up of virtual reality, that is a virtual space that continues to exist even if an individual isn't present in it, as well as augmented reality that combines aspects of digital and physical worlds. They are spaces that can be accessed through a game console or even phone or PC. The technologies that can bring people into the metaverse age are already proliferating, and they offer a lot of potentialities in HR. Starting from this background, this study develops two systematic analyses of existing literature on big data combined with human resource management and on metaverse combined with human resource management to stimulate future researches. For the first systematic analysis of literature, it was developed in the Scopus database. The descriptors selected to examine the scientific production were big data, human management, human resource management, and talent management. Investigation showed that scientific production started in 2013 and has a total 160 papers. Those written in English were 38, 36 in journals and 2 in trade publications, all published between 2014 and 2018. Chinese, American, and English authors mainly focused on research areas such as engineering, computer science, and business management and accounting, even though other areas were concerned. The literature review demonstrates that using predictive analysis and big data analytic in corporate operation and strategic brings a good number of benefits. According people resourcing, the proliferation of big data has given rise to the new way of organizing employees. Based on employees' characteristics and talent management, big data can be useful to define a good solution for managing work assignment, absenteeism, retention, permits, and turnover of staff. However, using big data in human resource management has some risks. It may give room to inequalities at work and in the hiring promotion process. Employees' rights may be infringed and their voice manipulated. Recruitment process. Big data can guarantee the selection of the best candidates with skills, personality, traits, and abilities in connection with the researched profile and the existing database of most suited employed for the role. All this is possible in short response time with the possibility to fill the vacant position much quickly while significantly reducing the recruitment costs. The company's predictability and ability in relation to big data make them self-sufficient and capable of achievement high competitive advantage. However, the use of big information in the recruitment process could be a risk for companies. The information at hand could not be accurate or may be inaccessible to enterprises. In this case, the selection process could be guided by false information. Compensation is one of the most relevant factors in the process of attracting of new employees into companies. Attracting the best candidates ensures high worker performance, but the employing company has to guarantee a good compensation and attractive economic rewards. Big data can be used to give to management specific and fast information on each employee's work content, daily workload, and task achievement. With such far-fetched and fast information, talents can be easily and rapidly identified, thus improving efficiency and efficacy in human resource management and career planning. Collecting and analyzing data, in addition to intensify knowledge level, are generally key to increasing performance. The advent of big data in workplace henceforth allow for exploring new options to determine the skills and topics that should be covered to develop right expertise, finding the most appropriate programs, studying behavior of each employee for a feedback, choosing the best form of teaching for the future. Over the past years, companies have developed new flexible working systems in response to economic crisis, and employees needed to balance their private life and their work. In this context, big data represents an innovative support to speed up development and explore new opportunities for part-time work, as it provides connectors between the company and its workers. Maintaining good employees relationship is an integral part of a company success. Happy and engaged employees produce the best possible work. An employees relations program that uses big data can be effective because of its ability to explore a variety of information representing the whole history of the company philosophy, rules, and procedures, all of which are used for addressing employee-related matters and resolving problems in the workplace. Finding indicates that at varied levels, big data can support the decision-making process. Big data offers a nice form of intelligence and knowledge that can generate an appropriate planning for human resource management. The core asset of big data in human resource management is its potential to produce new knowledge compared to the other information system. This entails a strategic view for gathering, storing, managing, and manipulating vast amount of data, with important implication in the creation of a competitive and sustainable advantage. Regarding the second systematic analysis, the descriptors selected to examine the scientific production were metaverse and human resource management. American and English authors mainly focused on research areas such as social science, computer science, and business management and accounting, even though other areas were concerned. Our investigation revealed that metaverse could offer some benefit to human resource management, even if the studies are still blurred and confused, fragmentized. Metaverse is a noticeable shift that already underway that requires a heavy investment of business in the technological infrastructures. According to people resourcing and employee relationship, work and team structures could have a fundamental change in the metaverse workplace. During the pandemic period, it has already seen workforce shift into the hybrid work structure, with meetings and collaboration taking place on technology platforms such as today. The metaverse can transform work by making group conversation and collaboration much more immersive, by encouraging interaction, brainstorming, drive creating engagement using hands-free devices and avatars rather than laptops and smartphones. Remaining remote work collaboration, employees can join in a meeting as an avatar or dial into a virtual room by video calling through a computer. They can use virtual keyboards to sketch ideas out together, bring their computer and the keyboard into virtual reality to work together, and also indulge in a water cooler conversation that were barely missed in the early remote working days. Virtual recruitment fairs are one example of candidates getting an opportunity to engage with potential employers and getting a real demonstration of the kind of company they could be working for. Through virtual firms could give potential candidates tours of the workplace. Thus, they could get a taste of the office culture. The tour can be viewed on the desktop along with a pair of headsets, creating an engaging and interactive experience that enable candidates to feel confident and comfortable with their potential new office. Recruiters will have a wider landscape to pick talent, conducting cross-location virtual job fairs. Potential employers could understand the work culture and vision. Metaverse in human resource management can create interactive and immersive learning experience for employees with the help of virtual reality. A virtual real training experience can improve employee performance by 70%. Of employers can train and educate employees by helping them run through real-life scenarios in virtual reality format to prepare them, allowing learners take a specific role. HR in the metaverse will witness an increase in the change management training. Virtual human resource management will need to resist how to educate and train employees in this new technology and software. The virtual training experience doesn't only make remote learning and a possible skills development, but it also allows 96% reduction in training time. The metaverse is an exciting new technology that business and the human resource department should be aware of. While the opportunities for metaverse in HR are still in their infancy, companies that consider to use this technology in human resource management will be ahead of the game when it comes to reaping the benefits. In conclusion, if in the social human resource management the focus was read and write, in the analytic human resource management the focus became read, write, and execute, because each one can create and run their own tools and software to edit and extract information. In the metaverse, the perspective is to enhance the user experience in a three-dimensional environment elaborating on our own monitors, Web 3D, where the object which we use and which surround us become smart, intelligent, because they have the ability and to communicate with themselves. Web of Things. It is a new environment in which virtual reality and augmented reality generate interactions that enrich the human sensory perception through some additional information. Metaverse become important for the making process. Sorry for the slide, and thank you for your attention.
We thank you very much. We thank you very much, Ginevra. Thank you for taking your time. As far as I know, you had a little problem, but thank you for being here and honoring us with your presence. Very interesting, as we all see this cross to virtuality that takes every aspect of our life into its hands. And I would like to figure out if there are some colleagues who would be interesting to ask questions to you, or a question regarding this metaverse. We feel like in Matrix movies already.
Yes, I have a question. My name is Cătălin Barbu from the University of Craiova. As my colleague said, congratulations on your presentation. I would like to ask you if do you consider that taking into account the actual trends, this transformation toward the metaverse of human resource process will be for granted for sure, or do you think will still be a cohabitation between traditional methods and these new virtual processes?
Oh, thank you for the question. I think that it's necessary to the cohabitation of traditional processes and the metaverse. Metaverse, human resource management processes could be a tool, but it's necessary to understand in the traditional way, which is the real process of a human resource management. So, in my opinion, the metaverse could be the first part of human resource processes, and then I suggest, but this is my opinion, to continue with the traditional processes, because we have a lot of benefits from metaverse, but with the traditional processes, I think that we can understand the real experience of employees, the real way in which he can improve his strategies, his decision-making process. So I think both.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I see, Paolo, did you raise hand somehow for questioning, or just?
Yes, no, yeah.
Okay,
sorry.
So please, in Italian, if you feel more comfortable then.
I only wanted to ask Ginevra, if this is published, then I would like to see the write-up, the writing that you have been, is it available? The paper.
I think, Ginevra, the full paper,
Oh,
if you have the full paper.
Full paper,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
full
yeah.
paper.
Okay, I send you the full paper, and so if you want, we can discuss about this topic. This is a very new topic, so there are a few papers on this topic, so it's a new aspect. So I have, and I can send you the papers that I have.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ginevra. And with the baton already given from one to the other, I thank Ginevra again very much for her intervention, and I invite Paolo to make his presentation, again based, I think, on Max Weber's influence and ideas and topics, because he has a very interesting presentation now. Ineffective decision making as the essence of bureaucracy. Empirical evidence from the judicial branch of government. I know you have studying a lot on the matter. So
yes.
Yes.
And this is thank you so much. This is very much tied, I guess, to what Professor Tufan was telling us before. We will see as we go along that there are relations to that. It's not usual that in Parliament bureaucracy is explicitly mentioned, and in his last speech in Parliament, the Italian Premier, who is about to leave these days, said, "We must stand united against useless bureaucracy that much too often delays development of our country." So bureaucracy is a word that we use a lot, and yet it is quite elusive. Useless bureaucracy, as mentioned before, implies there is a useful bureaucracy. So the following is meant to describe, explain, and possibly cure the issue of bureaucracy. This is part of a wider project on public administration, but this is about the roots, the microdynamics of bureaucracy, a little bit on the psychological side without mentioning it, but this is about that kind of reasoning. Why am I saying this in this conference about competitiveness? And because development is at stake. Dysfunctional and irresponsible public administration will hardly be an usher to sustainability and responsibility in the private sector. And sound management is a necessary, if not sufficient, condition for sustainability. And we will see that what is instinctive and obvious perceptions do not stand to a more in-depth analysis. So let's start again from our title. Useless bureaucracy is linked to ineffective decision-making as the essence of bureaucracy. So useless bureaucracy is a bureaucracy that does not make decision, ineffective decision-making. Non-decisions are made and decisions are not taken. I am elaborating, trying to explain what is ineffective. Decisions are postponed and are moved forward to others, for others to make decisions. They tend to minimize responsibilities of the actors. They are self-protecting decisions. And in the end, they pursue ease of management. So we have empirical evidence. Let's have a case history here. And we have empirical evidence from the judicial branch of government, which is an interesting situation because it sees our countries united in a footnote from the European Union Justice Scoreboard. Italy is in this footnote, is under, let me read this so that you don't have to go through it while I speak. The Council on the Commission's proposal addressed the country-specific recommendations relating to their justice system to 7 member states in 2019. Croatia, Italy, Cyprus, Hungary, Malta, Portugal, and Slovakia. And 8 member states in 2020. Yes, so we see this is repeated over the years. This was there before also in the scoreboard of previous years. Moreover, the Commission monitors judicial reforms in Bulgaria and Romania. So be advised, you're under monitoring under the cooperation and verification mechanism. The issue is justice delayed. Justice delayed is justice denied. So let's see, the proposed solution is is embedded in the reasoning, in all reasonings we hear about this, and explicit in the Prosecutor General speech at the inauguration of the judicial year this year, 2022, is solution is more judges, more prosecutors. The idea, the comparative narrative, to use a fashionable word, is that Germany has twice as many judges as we have. If you count the judges per 100,000 inhabitants in the country. However, and this is convincing, you put in more resources and the problem is at least addressed, if not solved, but addressed in a proper and reasonable way. If we though look at in detail at the quality of decision making, we look at specific decisions made by prosecutors in 1 year. We have two interesting piece of information. Of the total cases decided by prosecutors in 1 year, 68% were dismissed. So they were not sent to court. In the same year, the outcome of the cases that had been sent to court in previous years is that we have a conviction rate of 45.2%, meaning the public prosecutors won the case in court 45% of the time. So that's, let me show you this in a pictorial way. So we have two decisions. Decision A, which is taken by the prosecutor out of the pool of pending cases, which cases to dismiss, which cases to send to court. And then we have a decision B by the court, by the judges, on the cases that were sent to court by the prosecutor. And 55% of times there was acquittal and conviction in 45% of times. So we have a natural experiment here. This is the basic intuition of this article, basically. So we have a natural experiment whereby decision B is an evaluation of the quality of decision A, because one would imagine that the public prosecutor would send to court a case in order to win it, not only to entertain, move the decision forward to someone else. And we see that that decision A is upheld only in 45% of times. To give you an idea, so this is the idea of the natural experiment, to give you an idea of what kinds of conviction rates are around in the world, we have here, you see at the bottom of my slide, US, UK, and Germany have conviction rates above 80%. And I was not able to identify the same data for Romania and Sweden, which I tried to provide for you for sake of relevance to this audience. So if we now go back and on the escort of these basic data, we reappraise the proposed solution, more judges, more prosecutors. What is the likely outcome of this solution once we are aware of these micro behavioral, I would say, data about individuals within the system, what would be the outcome of this proposed solution? Certainly larger number of cases would be processed in 1 year if you have more judges, more prosecutors. But unless we change the ability of those micro behavioral data, we would have the same conviction rate on a larger number of cases. We would have the same congestion of courts with cases that are going to be acquitted, and therefore we would have the same delayed justice. So we see that this solution that appears prima facie to be a reasonable solution, it doesn't work. So we need to formulate an alternative view. So what is happening here? What is happening is not that we have, the idea is not that we don't have the resources. The issue is not about resources, the quantity of resources. The issue is about behavior of those resources. And we see the public prosecutors as public managers postpone decisions. What we are seeing, they move decisions forwards for other managers to make those decisions. So this is as we defined it in the beginning, this is the useless bureaucracy. You move decision forward, congestion in the system, generating delays in the system. This can be generalized. This is not about justice. This is not about Italy, because public prosecutors are public managers. They don't behave, they are monopolistic. They are not paid by rate. They verify all the conditions of being bureaucrats. And the theory comes from what Ekrem Tufan defined classical economics, or at least old economics, because we have 1968 theory about ease of management. So we see here that although we are not leveraging explicitly psychological issues and psychological behavior by individual, we are seeing a friction between the individual and the organization. The individual is still homo economicus, the prosecutor, I mean, is still economicus, but we have to say economicus for whom? For himself. So pursuing this ease of management warranted by a monopolistic status in the organization. This is it. I hope there is questions. I hope it was not all clear.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you very much, Paolo. I think there are questions. Catalina, I think you wanted to inquire something because we were talking before.
Yes. Hello, Paolo.
Hello. How are you?
Very good.
Good to see you. Good to see you.
Regarding your paper, even if we couldn't find the data for it, I think the cases that you brought in front of us suits very well also for the Romanian judiciary system. My question, of course, you put these problems here and they are well known. Regarding to the series of papers that you also presented in the previous years, I wanted to ask you if it is possible to put in place a system of social responsible public sector or social responsible bureaucracy that can make the public sector more accountable for its decisions and for its actions. This will be my question.
Okay. First of all, I have to thank you. I didn't mention because we were not successful in the search. I didn't mention, but Katalin Barbo was the person who helped me very much in looking for the conviction rate data for the Romanian case. So he inquired the literature and reports from the justice system in Romania, in Romanian language, but we couldn't locate that number. And initially I was a little frustrated about this, but then I couldn't locate the same number for Sweden. And so we all have hold Sweden in this high heaven of good management. So we see that locating conviction rates is not an easy task. Coming to the question, how we can put in place a social responsible public sector. First of all, and I have a slide on this, not exhaustive one, but first of all, just say so. Say so what? Say that it doesn't work. First of all, just say that the idea of an automaton, of a public sector as an automaton that mechanically implements laws and regulations and mechanically does the public good doesn't work. And we live under this hypothesis. We are living under this hypothesis. I would go back once again to Ekrem Tufan's presentation. Not only politicians, but also the interested parties have, and our heuristic welfare of citizens, we keep believing it should behave just like Ekrem's friend who is poorer and poorer and still votes for the same party. Like the citizens, we have a lot of experience of non-performing public administration, but we keep saying and we keep hoping and expecting things should be better. So the first thing is just to say, no, that's not the way it is. So just say so and cut the rhetoric about the devout civil servant in public discourse. If we did that, it would be a cultural, but also a very technical thing, because once you don't expect that, it's hard to state laws and regulations that imply exactly that. From a more technical point of view, curb the current monopolistic nature of public organizations at all levels. So at the organizational unit level, at the individual position level. So organizational unit implies a multiplicity of organizational units that do the same thing. This is not privatization. This is multiplicity. You can do the same thing in different places. The other thing is about the individual. We oftentimes see an individual staying in the same position within the same organization for decades. And that generates a monopolistic position. Let me go faster about this. Play comparative performance among similar organizational units, develop metrics of performance and social performance reporting. This is done. In some countries, it's done much more than in other countries. So this is about, it's not impossible, but it's about dissemination of these practices. Curb monopolies, as I said before, at the individual position level by rotating personnel across different organizational units and rotating personnel across the national workforce through term employment. This is the more, I can't hold on 1 second because I have the picture. Such remedies imply a limitation of the role of specialization and experience vis-a-vis the possible dangers of occupying the same position for time periods, for long time periods. Let me stress the last dash I have here: rotating personnel across the national workforce through term employment. This is about saying, okay, there is good salaries, there is current practices. This is fine. We don't change anything. We just rotate personnel across the national workforce. What does it mean? That I am a janitor in the school. I am a street sweeper in the municipal garbage collection company. And today I have life employment. I would venture to say this is the case also in Romania. I have life employment. So the idea is I have 5 to 10 year employment. Once that term is expired, somebody else comes in. I am no surgeon, I am no open heart surgeon, so somebody else can come in. And speaking to the last paragraph I said about specialization and experience, if I am a open heart surgeon, I have been 10 years in the same hospital, in the same department, in the same surgery ward, I go somewhere else. I go be a open heart surgeon somewhere else. I don't stay in the same hospital, in the same ward for over 10 years. Was that clear?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Paolo, for such a detailed answer. Thank you. And I think everything you have told us before, it links a little bit with what Mara will present, because I think all of us had these extraordinary, putting the quotes, yes, extraordinary chances to see changes all the time and to see these sometimes ineffective decision making in our providing classes, And I think Mara will bring us a little bit of understanding between the connection between these two elements. Pandemic, we all passed through it, and the extraordinary changes in education we were put at a certain moment in our lives in front of, and we had to deal with all of them. Thank you, Mara, and
thank you, Catalina.
We listen here very attentively. We all crossed these and passed these very extraordinary situations, and I think, with no offense to anybody, we sometimes took or made not very good decision in presentation our classes in an online environment. Thank you, and good luck with your presentation.
Thank you, Catalina, and thank you for your invitation. I would like to congratulate with you and with all the organizers of this conference. That is a really important moment and a chance to share with you and with both young, I try to delete. Okay, with young and senior scholars about a fundamental topic that are affecting our personal and professional life. And so congratulations for this conference, and I hope to be with you also next year. I will draw your attention to a topic that was and still is fundamental in our university, since the pandemic has triggered a new environment, and we should tackle with new challenges relative to our topic, the topic covered by our courses related to the relationships with our students. So I will try to summarize a research path that I'm sharing with other Italian colleagues in the north and in the center of Italy, because with Baldarelli Gabriella, University of Bologna, and with Stefania Vignini, University of Bologna, and another colleagues belonging to the University of Trento, Costa Erika. We work inside the CESAR. You know, the CESAR is the Center for Social and Environmental Accounting, based in St. Andrews, and we are working on this topic, the challenges we have to face in a post-pandemic situation. And the attention is now on education and relationships with our students. So the motivation, the why of this research path and this paper is related to the fact that there is an increasing attention on investing in education, and this attention increased a lot during and after the COVID pandemic, because at the present state of the art is more and more important to focus on social and environmental education, with a specific reference in my research field, that is accounting, because there is an urgency to face the survival of our world. And you know that the idea of an integral and integrated approach with the environment and the interest of some authors to the so-called Anthropocene, I can mention Larrinaga and other scholars, require to think about the challenges that today we must face about sustainability education. And we can mention the words of Bob Gray, who was the founder of the CESAR in St. Andrews, that stated more than 20 years ago that accountants and also professor of accounting and trained auditors do not appear to be bringing the skills, the expertise, and the habits of independence that are crucial to the profession to bear up on the attestation function in social and environmental reports. So there is a call for responsibility of accounting scholars and also for chartered accountants in triggering students' competence, skills, and behavior towards sustainability, addressing attention to their active role in promoting also teaching activities in a changed context, such as the one triggered by the COVID pandemic. So there is a larger literature now on crisis management in organization, but also we can consider the topic of crisis management also in university with regards to the new topic that should be addressed and the new technologies that should be adapted in delivering our courses, because the global situation generated by not only by the COVID pandemic, but also by the war, the current war, is pushing us to consider more broadly the devastation of our environment and the need to change companies' behavior. So the two main research questions are at the basis of this research path and this research design. What are the new challenges in increasing students' involvement in higher education during and after the pandemic, and in increasing students' involvement in particular in accounting education during and after the pandemic? There are some interesting contribution we can find in extant literature focused on students' involvement, where students' involvement is considered and defined as the amount of both physical and psychological energy students devotes to the academic experience. So on the one hand, the student's degree of learning is connected to the involvement in the academic program, in the courses and so on. And on the other hand, the effectiveness of an educational policy depends on the degree of students' involvement in this educational policy. There are a lot of different pedagogical theories. On the one hand, we have some traditional theories and new pedagogical theories that are most useful if considered to restructure and to redefine both the contents of the teaching courses in accounting, but also in other fields relative to other topics, and relative to the use of the technology. In particular, Austin considered some context variables affecting students' experience during their university career, not only related to the topics and the learning experience, but also to their social experience in being involved in different projects and activities such as recreational ones or academic competitions such as prizes. And we consider the contribution of Austin as a sort of basic theoretical framework for our studies, and also with the contribution of Sangster and other authors that who focused on the impact of the transition from on-campus, on-site education and students' experience to online lessons. And we experienced these changes during the pandemic because an emergency online educational environment has been experienced. And there are, we should consider some perceived danger relative to a progressive attention to the technological components of this challenge, a sort of technological managerialization of education, and in particular accounting education. And we should devote more attention on the pedagogical aspects. And by addressing attention on also social aspects of learning and dialogue. And to do this, some basic questions to be solved and to be answered are: how did the COVID pandemic impact and still is impacting on accounting education and educators in their university? This is the context. And then we should outline the challenges that both students and teachers faced concerning accounting education during the crisis, in order to learn from this experience and to reflect about the success of the failure of some initiatives. To do this, I will briefly introduce some insights deriving from a pivotal study. We performed an explorative analysis starting from May 2020 to March 2021, involving our students in a survey. We selected 3 universities: Bologna University, Urbino University, I belong to Urbino University, and Trento University. And we collected the data using a questionnaire, using a Google module based on 6 questions, both closed and open. And we obtained 103 answers. Just 2 pictures relative to the students that took part to this survey, that were women, mostly women, and the courses they attended, accounting courses with different names, and they both were students attending laurea triennale in Italian, so undergraduate, postgraduate, and also doctoral students were involved. And they attended different courses, economia aziendale, so that is business administrations, and reporting, financial reporting, non-financial reportings, and sustainability and accounting and integrated reporting. And they attended during the pandemic these courses, mainly adapting the online only synchronous way of teaching, of delivering the lessons. And in some cases, as you can see, in a reduced number of cases, they attended the courses online only asynchronous. So the most adopted way to deliver courses in the 3 universities selected was attending courses online synchronous. And we asked students to tell us how they experienced this new way of learning with reference to the learning tools and the methods the other colleagues adopted in delivering their accounting courses. We have different picture in the sense that there are pros and there are cons about this experience. I marked some sentences to point out that for a lot of students, the online was more convenient because they saved time, and the positive experience was based on the fact that the courses and the professor were well organized and gave them the opportunity to interact before and after the lessons, and to support them, to try to fill the gap created by the lack of the direct and on-campus relationships. And they appreciated the new and innovative teaching techniques and methods adapted, and they consider this a great solution. And in particular, students appreciated the efforts spent by the teacher to reduce the technical difficulties in order to grant a high quality of the teaching experience. And on the other end, we have also some cons, and the negative aspects are related to the lack of direct relationships. And we can read this sentence: from a human point of view, it is demeaning. Distance learning is as comfortable as inhuman. And this penalized the quality of the experience, and students point out the difficulty to keep concentrated during lessons, especially in the absence of stimulus triggered and generated by the teachers adapting new interactive tools and solutions such as flipped classroom and so on. And the lack of interaction, so social relationships, is the most important problem emerging from this survey and generating frustration and other negative aspects. But the overall picture is not with one unique color, because there are also there is a merge between the pros and the cons. The experience was positive and effective. However, face-to-face interaction with the teachers, the classmates would certainly trigger greater involvement. So we have to think about the change, and currently in Italy we have a sort of huge problem. In Italy now students are attending on-campus lessons. We are living in a sort of new normal situation, but there is an increasing competition between traditional university and online university that are attracting more and more students after the COVID pandemic experience. So as accounting scholar, we are called to change and to adopt both new and traditional tools, also to interact with our students, for instance, to making us available to get into relation with our students, not only on campus, but also by Skype or Meet or Zoom meeting more frequently during the week and during the months. But also as accounting scholar, we are called to change the topic, the content of our courses, because the pandemic, as I try to be quick and to close my presentation, but there is an urgent need to teach something new, because the pandemic has triggered a new humanistic business models, and companies that were able to tackle with the crisis generated by the COVID pandemic and by the other events, extraordinary events, such as the wars and so on, were the one that invested more on sustainability projects. And only some new competence are required, for instance, in the field of risk management, in the field of social and environmental reporting. So considering the replies provided by the students, this need to change the content of the accounting courses clearly emerged. And I try to read with you some sentences, such as the first one: the emergency has brought out the best side of our humanity, reminding that cooperation and collaboration subsidiary is the most effective way to achieve goals. This is for students and also for companies. The pandemic marked the need for new accounting models to be adopted by managers, so new managerial and entrepreneurial skills, and to internalize urgent issues and new measurement systems, because the traditional ones are not sufficient. And in the perception of students that attends also financial accounting courses and traditional accounting courses, it is clear that the metrics, the financial metrics adopted are not sufficient. The operating profit is no longer a metric measure the value and the overall value of a company. And sustainability emerge as a fundamental object in the strategies of companies. So, conclusion, considering the tool adopted during the pandemic, so a blended and mixed approach by merging face-to-face and online courses delivery, could be a new solution also for the current and future time. And the switch to online was not as difficult as expected, because the new generation are familiar with the new tools, and in a certain sense they are more friendly, and they are interested in adapting new tools, and such as digital pivoting, remote learning, asynchronization, and so on. But there is a tension between technology and pedagogy in the specific context of education, and in particular in accounting education. So this is the final slide related to the fact that sustainability emerged as a key concept, and we should mark again the importance of the accounting skills with regard to sustainability, but also pedagogical skills. And there is a call for accounting scholars to enhance not only students' competence, skill, and traditional behaviors, but also to devote more attention to soft skills, considering the new relationships and the new topics that are emergent. So teaching and learning at university is tackling a new challenge. The idea we are nurturing with the colleagues is that university should teach for the common good, and the common good university will be the object, and maybe the competition among university will be based on this capability to overcome the traditional approach, and to be able to change the behaviors of the new generations of managers and entrepreneurs. Thank you for your attention. I'm available. I hope to be on to have respected the time assigned to me.
Yes, you are on time.
I'm available if there are questions.
Yeah, it is a question from me, and I ask from my colleagues who are here and who are professors and who just passed through these situations. I would like to have a question, turning myself into the voice of all my colleagues, and to ask you, exactly as you asked in your questionnaire, the students, to ask you a little personal question, because I think all of us asked ourselves these questions at one point in time. How do you feel about these new methodologies of teaching using online techniques?
My personal reply.
Do you feel comfortable? Do you feel frustrated? What is your feel regarding them?
My personal feel, yes, because the data I presented is related to the students, but also there are some international contribution, and I can share with you special issue where the voices of professors are captured and their experience. In my opinion, my personal thought is positive, more positive than negative, but I feel that I need more time to interiorize all these challenges, because in my university new innovative teaching activities have been delivered, but for instance that are appreciated by students, but as a professors we don't have time enough to better explore these new tools that are aimed to join the online and on-site students. So it is frustrating for me to have to adopt some new tools without having sufficient time for organize my topics using these new tools. While in the meantime, my university and a lot of Italian universities are asking professors to adopt these new tools that have been generating during the pandemic to face the crisis. In this new normal, we should have an investment addressed to professors, to make us able to know this new technology. So it is not possible. Now we are experiencing a sort of double path, the traditional and the new one. It is difficult to merge. When you are, I'm not able to do this, I feel frustrated. But I still, I think that this is a sort of step where there is a sort of confusion and many things to change, but in the future, I think this will be the way to internalize and to adopting new technologies, working groups, flipped classroom. This will be the new normal. And for instance, online committee with students that are good for me, for them, without avoiding the personal relationships. This is an additional, we can benefit from additional relationships through the new digital technologies without deleting the traditional one.
Thank you very much, Mara. I think you provided us with a very interesting answer for many of us, I think.
Okay, I don't know if you, in your university, you made a similar survey addressed to your students, maybe. Yes.
I do not have any knowledge about something like this, such a
we can compare
such a questionnaire, yes, in time, and if we work on a research, we can have a subject,
yes,
a topic connected to this, because
management courses, yes, not
yes,
only accounting.
It is very important, and also in our university, as a small chat beside what we are here for. In our university, from the end of November, we will also go back to online classes. And we will feel then again, we will have again the feeling of teaching in front of computer and nobody in front of us, but some computer we just have no control on, just on our, but not on the computers of our students. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you,
Catalina. Thank you very much, Mara. And now I will invite our very old friend, Andre, to start his presentation. I think we move from a very interesting topic to another very interesting topic, especially for us Romanians, because Andre will play a little bit with our waiting hopes regarding Romania and the euro. Where do we stand? Exactly, where do we stand here? And Andre probably will uplight us a bit on the matter.
Yes.
Please, Andre, thank you very much.
Yes, I'm trying to share the screen.
Yes, we are here waiting.
But it's not. Why is it not working? Maybe you can load it, because
yes,
I would. Yeah.
Just allow me to do it for you.
Yes. Okay, I have it already. Yes, sorry, I didn't.
Okay, no problem. I was ready to turn it on also.
Yeah, that was, like Mara said, sometimes the computer doesn't, we are not.
Doesn't listen to our desires.
Yes, that's right. Yeah,
so no problem. Right. Now we see the presentation also.
Yes,
thank you.
Yes, it's an honor and a pleasure to speak in the conference. Our cooperation goes back 30 years ago, when Professor Opritescu and Professor Laura Vasilescu came to Holland, and I'm happy it's still working, and it's a great feeling of hospitality. Yes, I would like to discuss today Romania and the euro. Where do we stand? it's more a discussion and questions than giving you answers, because we in Brussels also have questions. Why is it so difficult for Romania to introduce the euro? It's not only in Brussels where it happens, but also in Romania. So I will discuss the difficult relationship, the story of the euro, the advantages of the euro, the convergence process, Romania and convergence, public support for the euro in Romania, and Romanian resistance against euro adoption and the way forward. Romania has said in 2007 that it will adopt the euro as soon as possible when it became a member. It is an obligation of every member state, and you only have a temporary derogation from adopting the euro. And but on the other hand, in 2016, Romania met almost all the convergence criteria that you have to meet to adopt the euro, and still didn't use that window of opportunity. There was in March 2018 a national plan for the adoption of the euro, scheduled for 2024, but in 2021 Florin Georgescu said that the date of 2024 would be delayed to 2029. So the story of Romania and the euro, unfortunately, is a story of delays, and the question is, so where do these delays come from, and is it good for Romania to have this delay? Let's go a bit back in the story of the euro. It's important that already the Treaty of Rome in Article 107 basically says that you need something like a currency, a common currency, or fixed exchange rate for an internal market. So that's very important so it's the internal market who needs the common currency. From 57 to 71, there was automatic exchange rate stability ensured by the Bretton Woods Agreement, where all the currencies were linked to the dollar and the dollar was linked to the gold. But then when that stopped and collapsed, there were plans to have European currencies, but the 70s were very difficult economic times with the oil crisis, and the Werner plan failed. Between 71 and 79, many ideas circulated to have a regional Bretton Woods, and something like a regional Bretton Woods emerged in 79, which was a big effort of Giscard d'Estaing at that time, and the German Chancellor who took the lead in that. Then very important in 87, the Single Acts stated that the internal market would indeed start in 1993, and that was high time to do something about the currency question. There was the Delors Committee, very well known, and this Delors Committee designed a plan to have an irrevocable rates and a common currencies in 3 steps by 1999. Then in 1990, there was an important report, the report One Market, One Money, who stated that the internal market would be much more successful with a common currency. So we, as you all know, we had the Maastricht Treaty, which decided on the common currency to be realized in 1999. In 1995, there was the decision on the name of the currency, that it would be the euro. the name euro. And in 1997, only at that time 11 member states qualified for the adoption of the euro in 1999. And as you know, the euro was introduced in banknotes and coins in 2002. So the advantages of the euro, as seen, let's say, as stipulated by the treaty and the reports, was that there is only a fair internal market when there is no currency manipulation. Otherwise, you could depreciate your currency and have a strong export. We have no transaction costs. We have no exchange rate in the internal market. And it's very important to know that 210 million people are in fact pegged to the euro. So it means that it's not only the 340 million in the eurozone, but also the 210 million people pegged to the eurozone that have no exchange rate anymore. There is a boost of approximately 5 to 10% in trade, a boost of approximately 5% in investment, more financial integration, more macroeconomic stability, price parity, lower interest rate and inflation, and the euro is a stable reserve currency. So after these advantages, you would say why we don't have yet the euro in Romania, but of course Romania has to meet also the convergence criteria. The convergence criteria process was introduced in the Maastricht Treaty, so you had to meet certain convergence criteria, the long-term interest criterion, the inflation criterion, the government deficit criterion of maximum 3% of government deficit, a government debt not higher than 60%, and 2 years of successful membership of the exchange rate mechanism 2. Then it means that after the euro circulation in 2002, it was decided in Article 150 of the European Treaty and in the protocol that there would be biannual convergence reports investigating whether a certain member state was ready to adopt the euro, assuming that when the member state could join, that it would join. That's the logic. So about the convergence, the 2002 report was not so favorable about the convergence criteria. Basically, Romania in that report didn't meet any of the convergence criteria. It met the debt criterion, but that is not a separate criterion that's merged with the deficit criterion. But it was not always like that. In 2016, Romania met all the convergence criteria, but only it missed the compatibility of national central bank law with the European Central Bank law, and it wasn't a member of the exchange rate mechanism 2 for 2 years. But of course, this is in the hand of Romania itself. So it can be concluded that the non-adoption of the euro so far is largely politically motivated and based on economic considerations that go beyond the convergence criteria, such as the lack of real convergence. Real convergence means that you look at income in the EU, average income, and then you look at income in Romania, and then you say what is the percentage, and if you don't meet a certain percentage, you conclude that Romania is not ready for the euro. So this very quickly shows an overview of the convergence assessments over the years, starting in 2012. But it's important to see that in 2016, Romania meets almost all the criteria except for those that it can decide on itself. So it can decide itself on making the law compatible with ECB and EU law. And it can also decide on the membership of the exchange rate mechanism too. So the public support for the euro is very strong. That's the remarkable point, and it's actually growing. Are you personally more in favor against the idea of introducing the euro in Romania? So it was 60% for the other non-euro countries, but it was 77% for Romania. So rather strong support and still increasing support. And do you think that the introduction of the euro would have positive or negative consequences for Romania? Also there, Romanians think that it would be better for Romania, for the economy, 65%, which is clearly higher than average for the countries not having the euro. So the question is then where is the resistance? I mean, this is more a point for discussion and a question to you. I didn't make a survey in Romania. Romanian policymakers often refer to the 2010 Eurozone crisis, and they say, yeah, there was a crisis in the Eurozone, and we, thanks to not having adopted the euro, we were not in that crisis. So it is better to stay out of that crisis zone. But it is probable that the states under attack, such as Greece, were better off in the Eurozone than outside. Then it's important to note that no school of economic thought advocates a necessary degree of real income convergence for adopting a single currency, a requirement that has repeatedly put forward by the Romanian policymakers. But in fact, this real convergence criterion is already achieved for Romania, but it was often used in the last decade to justify another delay in the plans to adopt the euro. Then there was another argument put forward frequently, is that there is no business synchronization with the European Eurozone business cycle, and this is also an often used excuse to say we cannot adopt the euro at this moment. But actually, the research of Rose has shown that this business cycle synchronization is actually helped when you are a member of a currency union. So then the question is, what should Romania do at this time? So it should do what it can do. Of course, the convergence criteria, that is something more difficult, but it should at the first thing to do would be to end the free floating of the currency and become a member of the exchange rate mechanism too, like Bulgaria has now done. And this would, in my opinion, and also research shows this would help to fulfill the other convergence criteria. So it's clear that when you don't have when you have a free floating currency, it's very difficult to expect that you have a very good trade performance, or your interest rates will become lower than in the Eurozone because you have a free float, and this doesn't help to have a lower interest rate. Almost all the the 11 countries that joined in 1999 and qualified in 1997, they converged very strongly in the last years when people knew that they would become part of the currency union. Then it helped a lot to meet the convergence criteria, and your policy is more on an automatic pilot because you want to achieve the convergence criteria, and then you automatically follow the policy that belongs to that goal. So when the free float would be over, then the Romanian banking system would be stronger. There would be lower interest rates and inflation. It would be a support of the Romanian consumers, and it would improve the competitiveness of companies. Make Romanian central bank law compatible with Euro system legislation that is rather easy to change. Law, Romanian law, central bank law 312, I think. So this is in the hand of the Romanians themselves. But sorry, but what is also important is that Romania develops a clear strategy for Euro adoption based on solid economic reasoning and on milestones and packages that have been missing since 2007. Because if a clear strategy is missing, then one can expect more delays than until 2029. So there is plenty of opportunity for Romanian Euro adoption, and I would leave now the matter for your appreciated discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Andre. I think it is a question, as far as I know, and I think it's Laura who just talked to me before. Yeah, Laura, please.
Congratulations, Professor Kolodziak, for your very interesting presentation. And in order to give the conference participants a clue about our long cooperation, I just remember that first time when we visited your university in Nijmegen was the national currency was gulden, so it's very long time ago.
Yeah.
My questions. Yes, I remember we changed money, and then you turned to euro. And of course, this transition to euro means a lot of benefits, but also difficulties for all the states, even for developed ones. My question is, what measures were adopted by the Netherlands in order to make the transition process to euro more easier, let's say, quoted? Because I think there are some should be done some more from the internal factors also. Thank you.
Yes, I'm very happy with your memories, Laura, and with your question. Yes, what happened basically in the Netherlands was that for a long time, so they in general they followed the they wanted to have a stable exchange rate with the Deutsche Mark, which was, so to say, the predecessor of the euro. Yes. One time they didn't follow the appreciation of the Deutsche Mark, and then we saw immediately the negative consequences in our trade, in our interest rates, in our inflation. So the 11 countries that joined in 1999, they were helped by following generally the monetary policy of the Bundesbank. So they they kept a stable exchange rate, and that helped them a lot to achieve the convergence. So once they said we are following, we want the euro, the convergence criteria came. They became better. But the problem was, and let me add that, it was that the Deutschmark was the German economy was a small economy in the world. The Deutschmark was pushed up and down by the dollar. So this sometimes they say, yeah, it was a political decision, but in fact it was also an economic decision because the Deutschmark was not very stable in itself, which because the other currencies pegged to the Deutschmark, it made it very difficult. But I hope I answered a little bit your questions. Thank you very much, Laura. Thank you. I'm happy to see you. Yes, yes. I hope Professor Opritescu is still alive and
yes,
yes, he is for sure still alive and kicking.
Okay.
But I will send him your greetings also.
Thank you.
He's alive.
Thank you. Thank you.
Every year.
We thank you very much, Andre, for being together with us today and sharing all these things. And as it is a fashion nowadays to have these interdisciplinary connections between us and cooperations, I will ask Professor Özen to present his paper, very interesting one, as he told me was written with colleagues from India. And I think next year maybe we will have some colleagues from India too, if Mexico already announced themselves for presence. So Professor Özen, the virtual floor is yours, please. And thank you.
You're welcome. Hello to everyone. This paper originally comes from India, and we are collaborating with them for 1 year only. And I will share my presentation. Yes, I think it's okay.
It is perfect.
Okay, thank you.
It is perfect. Yes, yes.
Generally, there are many papers investigate the behavioral biases of the investors, but there is a little papers or publications or on investment advisors, and so we can see there is a gap on this side. Co-authors are Manju Dahiya and Ravi Raj. Okay. The field of finance is the foundation for maximizing individuals and companies' wealth, and many theories such as traditional and modern portfolio theories have been vital in investing decision-making. The conventional financial theories highlight the fundamental relationship between unexpected returns from investments and the associated risks. An underlying assumption of the economic and finance theories is that the investor is a rational human being. However, under different circumstances, the emotions of an individual overtake the logical deduction of the matter at hand. The elements such as experience and belief systems clothe the rational mindset of even the most rational person. Consequently, if the investment decision-making ability gets impaired, it would lead to huge losses. This is when the academics turn to the field of psychology to understand these anomalies, which led to development of a new branch of finance, behavioral finance. In behavioral finance, broadly two types of biases based on misconception and the other based on fear have been specified. The first type of psychological factor is a cognitive illusion. Cognitive illusion refers to an error in judgment when one compares one's response to an already established response under the same circumstances. Consequently, this error or judgment creates an illusion in the investor's leading to biases such as overconfidence, hindsight, representative occurring, and the disposition effect. The other psychological factor affecting investment decision making is the herd mentality. One usually adheres to such behavior due to either a fear of false decisions or fear of being left behind. Herding behavior is one prominent bias that causes panic in the stock market. Consequently, this panic further creates a circle of panic buying and selling of investments in bulk. This persistent tendency of herding among the investors can be observed in the market moments, as most investors rely on collective and reliable information rather than the share's intrinsic value. Often, a person fears the loss in investments due to some error in estimating the expected returns of the portfolio. This fear is referred to as the regret aversion bias. To understand the response of the investment advisor towards the various risky circumstances of the stock markets, the contribution of the field of behavioral finance became paramount. The role of the financial intermediary is vital. Investment advisors have a major impact on the price discovery mechanism of the stock market. The literature on behavioral finance highlights the presence of behavioral bias, such as herding, overconfidence, and representatives amongst the professionals. Thus, there is a need to study the impact of these biases on investment performance and the recommendations of financial intermediaries. We focused this paper based on the existing literature. The study seeks to examine the following objective in the context of the Indian financial market: to examine the impact of the behavioral bias on the investment performance of the investment advisors. So, there are many hypotheses we can conclude. There are differences in the behavioral biases exhibited by different age groups, and male and female, and investment advisors at different levels of educational qualification, and different income groups of investment advisors, and cognitive illusion has a significant impact on the financial performance of investors advisors, and representative bias has a significant impact on the financial performance on the investment advisors. The disposition effect has a significant impact on the financial performance on the investment advisors, and continue like that, overconfidence, anchoring, and herd mentality like that. We can see here independent variable and dependent variable, representative bias, disposition effect, overconfidence, anchoring bias, and herding behavior are independent variables, and investment performance is dependent variable. The investment advisors who are listed in the Securities Exchange Board of India, we call it as a SEBI, have been taken as a sample for the primary analysis. The SEBI registered investment advisors have been selected for the study primarily for two reasons. Firstly, if an investment advisor is not registered with the SEBI, the board has a right to seize and sue the advisory businesses under fraudulent and unfair trade practices. Secondly, to avoid any conflict of interest, SEBI has segregated the differentiation and in advisory and distribution roles. The survey questionnaire used in the study has been finalized from a set of 25 behavioral bias items, which represent the two broad dimensions of the factors affecting the decision-making capability of investment advisors, namely cognitive illusion and herd mentality. And we can say that the scale is reliable enough, and all Craiova alpha values over 0.70. The significance of the difference based on the demographic profile of the respondents has been tested using the one-way ANOVA for each behavioral bias. Pearson's correlation has been applied to assess the relationship of behavioral biases with investment performance. For assessing the impact of behavioral bias dimensions on investment performance, a stepwise regression has been conducted. The dimensions of behavioral bias are taken as independent variables, while the investment performance of the professional has been taken as a dependent variable. And we can see the figure. The more preferred investment is stocks and mutual funds to old companies, and second one is stocks and mutual fund of new companies with high growth. Experience in investment and advisory services. 28% of the respondents have an experience of 3 to 5 years of investments and advisory services in financial securities, followed by 26% with 5 to 7 years of practice. At the same time, only 23% of the selected investment advisors have an experience of more than 7 years. On the other hand, 16% of them have experience of 1 to 3 years and 7% less than a year. Time suggested for reallocation of investments. One of the essential attributes of portfolio optimization is to make timely reallocation of investments is one of one's portfolio to maximize wealth as per to prevailing market conditions. Accordingly, the investment advisors were asked to recommend a period within which they would want their clients to revise the portfolio's composition. 40% of the investment advisors recommend a change in the current portfolio within 12 to 36 months, with 32% suggesting readjustments from 3 to 12 months. Around 19% reallocate the portfolios after 36 months or more, while very few investment advisors are risk takers and indulge in intraday trading. It has been found that not many professionals recommend modifying the portfolios within 3 months of investments. The Welsh test suggests a significant differences in the herd mentality that transpires between various age groups. Regarding other cognitive illusion, representative bias and disposition effect, no difference amongst the age groups was found to be significant. The one-way ANOVA research for the difference in male and female investment advisors' bias behavior. It can be observed that there is a differences in the herding behavior between the gender, which is further corroborated by the Welsh statistics. Thus, the null hypothesis that there is no differences in the herd mentality exhibited by males and females is rejected. The cognitive illusion, on the other hand, were not found to be significant. Similarly, no differences in the representative bias, disposition effect, overconfidence, and anchoring were found. A significant differences in susceptibility of the educational qualifications towards disposition effect was observed for the sample respondents. There are differences in the disposition effect exhibited by investment advisors at different educational qualifications level. Other behavioral biases, representative bias, overconfidence, anchoring, and the herd mentality do not seem to be affected by the different educational qualifications of investment advisors. The differences in the income level of the investment advisors makes one prone to biased behavior in terms of representatives, overconfidence, anchoring, and herding, as affirmed in the Welsh test as well. Thus, the hypothesis that there is no differences in the representative bias, overconfidence, anchoring, and herd mentality exhibited by different income groups of investment advisors is rejected. The post hoc analysis shows that investment advisors at a lower income level are more prone to representative bias than at the higher income level. However, in case of Indian investment advisors, the lower income group exhibits more overconfidence than the higher income groups. Further, it can be concluded that investment advisors at a lower income level anchor their financial performance significantly more than the other groups. The herd mentality is more pronounced at higher income levels. A significant positive correlation was found between the factors leading to this behavioral biases and the investment performance. The cognitive illusion has a stronger scientific relationship with investment performance compared to the behavioral cascade. The further analysis of behavioral bias has been made. Since all the biases stem from psychological dissonance, it is expected to be correlated. To the degree of correlation is relatively weak. The less degree of correlation is between representativeness and overconfidence. While studying the relationship between investment performance and biases, it has been found that investment performance is less correlated to representativeness. From amongst the cognitive illusion followed by the anchoring effect. The disposition effect show a correlation of 0.482. It can be seen that investment performance has a moderately strong correlation with overconfidence. The results of regression analysis of CB model highlights that cognitive illusion bias and behavioral cascade have a significant positive impact on investment performance. Thus, the null hypothesis that cognitive illusion do not significantly impact the financial performance of the investment advisors stands rejected. The disposition effect is found to have a significant positive effect on investment performance. The null hypothesis that the disposition effect does not significantly impact the financial performance of investment advisors is rejected. Around 55% change in the financial performance of the investment advisors is on account of overconfidence. The stance that overconfidence does not significantly impact the financial performance of the investment advisor is hence rejected. The significant positive relation between overconfidence and investment performance suggests that the market might not move based on fundamentals. In line with the findings of research by Costa et al., anchoring had the least impact on investment performance. The null hypothesis that disposition effect and anchoring bias do not have a significant impact on the financial performance of the investment advisors are rejected. Out of the 4 cognitive illusions, representative bias is found not only to impair investment performance, but is also significantly insignificant. Herd mentality, which may be intentional or unintentional, explains a 15.8% change in the investment performance. The research also suggests a positive relation between herding behavior and investment performance, which implies that as the herding increases in the market, so does the investment performance. Thus, the null hypothesis that the herd mentality does not significantly impact the financial performance of investment advisors is rejected. The herd mentality was particularly prominent in how the investment advisors reacted quickly to any new news related to a new investment opportunity. Based on the information received by an investment advisor, the herding behavior can assist the investor advisors in identifying the positives or negatives of the investment tips before recommending asset allocation to their clients. The analysis highlights that representative bias was found to be significantly insignificant. However, when the items representing the bias are analyzed, it can be observed that the prospective rise in gold price has a negative and significant influence on investment performance. The past success of investment advisors makes them believe that the future performance of the investments will also improve. The disposition effect was more prominent when the investment analysts ignored the temporary changes in the stock market to enhance the return from the investments. The prospective colleges of the advisors are a vital source of information, especially when it comes to investing. As supported by the revived literature, overconfidence is the most prevalent behavioral bias among Indian investment advisors. They do not prefer to hold stock with vague past performance. The advisors exhibit overconfidence in their skill and knowledge to outperform the market. They believe that they can anticipate profits and are overconfident about the investment recommendations. They are willing to take full responsibility for the performance of the recommended investments. The uncertainty of the business environment is sometimes beyond human comprehension. Hence, instead of taking full responsibility for their performance, it would be advisable to prepare the investors for potential losses. Finally, the investment advisors believe in treating each asset in the portfolio separately. The primary research on the impact of behavioral biases on investment performance shows that even the most experienced investment advisors are not free from biases. The study elaborates upon the impact of behavioral bias on the investment performance of investment advisors. The one-way analysis shows that the younger investment advisors are more overconfident than their older counterparts, while the middle-aged investment advisors significantly anchor their decisions to past experience. There is a significant difference in the herd mentality of male and female professionals. The regression analysis highlights that overconfidence is the most prominent bias among investment advisors who have excessive faith in their skills and forecasting ability. The significance of the herd mentality reveals that investment tips from their counterparts are an important source of information. Further, even the anchoring and the disposition effect are significant, as the professionals are not faced by the temporary changes in the stock markets. Hence, the study shows that even the most experienced and trained investment advisors are prone to biased investment decision making. Thank you very much.
We thank you. We thank you very much, Ercan, for your presentation. Very detailed one, and I think those interested followed it attentively. If any questions for you for this very interesting topic?
Yes, I would like to ask a question.
Please, Andre.
Yes, I have a lot of questions, but there's no time for that. But
yeah, at least maybe, one, please.
Yes, I think. Do you think that this investigation for India, which is very unique, I think, can also tell us something about these biases at CETA performances in the rest of the world, and how far can it be transported to other regions, you think?
I can say they're so similar.
Okay.
May I add something?
Yes, please.
All this type of biases can be seen in all around the world, by the way, because we have some examples, some experiences. We searched for Turkey, for example. There is the herd behavior and the overconfidence, because generally the youngest people love risk more than the older one, and the ladies doesn't like to taking risk, and these are the general information in the stock exchanges. And another thing, we also searched, for example, in Turkey, the weather effect is there any weather effect in the stock exchange? And we found the snowy effect for Turkey, and the other countries also found the weather effect also, because these type of effects or biases or heuristics, let's say, these are the emotional things. So the different countries, different investments, but all of us, we are emotional. So because of that, we prone to follow this type of things.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
I can say that last thing. According to study, we can, as investor, we can be careful, and maybe we can analyze mutual funds returns, and we need to check the return of all mutual funds, so we can invest in trust. Thank you.
Thank you, Ercan, for your answer. Thank you, Ekrem, for intervention, for underlining some very interesting topics also and things. And now, last but not the least, Magnus, please be my guest with a very interesting and very real presentation. We Romanians feel it very close here. It's just nearby. It's over the fence. And the relevance of EU and NATO in the light of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. So I think somewhere in the north, up north in Moldova, they can hear even the sound of bombs. So it's very real for us, and not so, with other words, it's very interesting to hear and to concentrate on what Magnus represent us. Thank you, Magnus, and good luck.
Im Namen der Menschlichkeit.
Thank you very much, Ina. I hope you can hear me.
Vous avez 72 heures.
Thank you as well.
Can hear you very well.
Thank you as well, Professor Özcan, for a very interesting presentation. Hopefully my portfolio will recover when the weather recovers in the spring. Anyway, yes, I wanted to talk to you about I am a political scientist, mostly focusing on international politics. I've also had some practical experience working for NATO.
Du musst jetzt tapfer sein. Für die es nicht geschafft haben.
Can you see my slides
Für
now?
uns alle.
Yes,
Yeah, can be seen, perfectly seen.
Lovely. Very good, thank you. I wanted to talk about the situation we have and which Ina described so vividly, which is quite close by. We haven't had a situation how they were used, whether that would entail massive casualties or what it would mean, what it would lead to. But let us not forget that we have seen this situation before, and then we have to go to the Cold War, because you can think of the Ukraine war when it comes to the involvement of the West as a sort of a proxy war, a revisit to the Cold War times when we had the superpowers fighting, of course, through their proxies. So you could say that the Ukrainians were a Western
proxy in this war. And these proxy wars were sometimes with the involvement, of course, of the superpowers themselves. For instance, like the Korean War, like the Vietnam War, and of course the war in Afghanistan. Two of these wars led to the defeat of the superpower, and one of it led to a stalemate, which is a potential thing in Ukraine, I would think, as well. Stalemates can last decades. So let's for instance just think about the stalemate in Palestine, in Israel, which has lasted for 70 years. We even still have refugee camps from 1948. So stalemates are a relatively stable situation which can last for a very long time. But what would happen to Russia if the Ukraine war, if they wouldn't just directly lose it, but if it would lead to a stalemate? Now, I have to start with a little bit of a discussion on how Russia has evolved since the fall of the Soviet Union. I think there were some mistakes made back in the 1990s, and that Russia wasn't embraced as it should have been, probably, by Europe and the West. And the West sort of didn't learn the lesson from the aftermath of the Second World War, when Germany was reintegrated into the European sort of community, and of course into the European coal and steel community, which led to the European Union eventually, and of course NATO, rearmed through NATO. Could Russia have become European at that time? Of course, this is counterfactual speculation, but unfortunately it didn't, and things sort of evolved for the worse. Now, we tend to think of Russia as huge, maybe sort of too huge for Europe. That is due to its history as a Cold War superpower, of course, although that was the Soviet Union, including more nations or more countries. But we associate it with Russia, but also its significant landmass. I mean, it's the biggest country in the world when it comes to landmass. But let's analyze that assumption, this assumption of the hugeness of Russia a little bit. Now, the Russian population, it's of course around 140 million. It's mostly concentrated in the West, and only 6.3 Russians live east of the Urals. Russia also has significant demographic challenges. It has a low birth rate and excess deaths, despite a resurgence in the 2010s. And when it comes to its economy, population, military spending, it's a middle rank European power. I have there a graph I created with the GDP, the sort of accumulated GDP in US dollar billions. I have GDP per capita as well there. I've also population in millions and military spending, and you can see it when it comes to these factors. It is in fact smaller than Italy. It is larger than Turkey, though, if looking at this comparison. Now, the actual superpowers. I mean, this is the same comparison with the US, China, and of course the European Union aggregated. Of course, we know the European Union. I mean, we know this old adage that the European Union is an economic giant, but a military worm, and that is of course true. While the European Union doesn't unite its military front, however, the member states' military expenditure is is way larger than Russia's. When it comes to superpower status, it also means that you have to have some kind of an ideological appeal. You have to have like some perhaps something that makes other countries want to follow you. And Russia has no ideology. Russian nationalism doesn't have any international appeal. However, China does. I mean, China has an ideology, and it is presenting itself as an alternative community, an alternative society when it comes to a comparison with the democratic and liberal capitalist West. So, with a proxy war in Ukraine, Russia could more and more become a protege of China, and we could see a new Cold War sort of coming out of this, with China looking out for the illiberal world there in Russia, maybe even India, unfortunately, which seems to be sliding in liberal direction, but also some other countries that are closer to home, for instance, like Hungary and even Turkey. And I mean, there will come a point when these countries have to choose sides. And I think this will be a challenge for the European Union. So yeah, I just want to leave you with this thought. I think my time is probably also done. So sorry about that. Yeah, but thank you very much. If there are any questions,
we thank you very much, Magnus, and I think not only very interesting verbal presentation, but also very interesting visual presentation, especially that images from Saigon. I remembered I saw some movies and also documentaries on the matter of helicopters flying from the embassy, American embassy. Let's hope we will not see so soon something like this again, because we saw those children in Afghanistan over the fence, just thrown over the fence by their parents to only leave from Afghanistan in those moments. I think we have Mara with a question. Yes, Mara, please.
Okay.
I also have a question, but I will allow Mara to
I will
ask.
be very
yes, please,
short and quick. Thank you for your so interesting presentation first. And I'm Italian, and I was discussing with some colleagues during a conference based on civil economy perspective and economy of Francesco perspective in this so challenging landscape. And my question is, do you think so, and do you agree with the idea that we should expect a multipolar geopolitical framework? So this was the sole question we discussed about with my colleague in the near and current future.
Yes, this is a very interesting question, of course, because we see that the military, when we look at the West, the military assistance to Ukraine, it's mainly bilateral. So you could say that everyone is acting sort of on its own. However, it's within, of course, the Western framework, and it's very clear, I think, what the West is, why the West is involved in this. I mean, there are ideals it is defending. It is defending the international law, the international conduct of respecting international borders and sovereignty, going back to even the Treaty of Westphalia. But I mean, I think there are no challenges. I mean, there aren't any that can challenge the dominance of the US and China when it comes to superpower status in the current times, except for perhaps the European Union. However, the European Union is, of course, and the European countries are closely allied to the United States, and I think it sort of also depends on how I think actually sliding back into sort of a Cold War atmosphere could create a more united West. Unfortunately, that it needs an enemy to be united. But I see if we look at the last 20 or 30 years, I think that is what has been demonstrated in front of our eyes, right?
A sort of renewed consciousness.
Yes, a renewed consciousness why we are doing these things. So with the end of history, the West sort of lost its purpose for a while. Fighting wars in like Somalia, which were a debacle, of course. Then the war on terror, which was of course a reaction to the attacks on the United States, but not all Western nations sort of wanted to tag along with that rhetoric. However, when you see the European continent being threatened with a war like this, and sort of with an illiberal ideology, I think that can be a rallying point for the West. We are in this process as of now, of course, and it depends on how this develops.
We are in the middle of this process.
Yes, exactly. We're in the middle of this process, so it's difficult to say. But as it looks now, it looks like developing a stalemate there. Because can Ukraine win this war? I don't know.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Paolo, I think you also have a question. I saw your hand
go
raised.
ahead. You go ahead with your question.
No, please.
Magnus, I only wanted to ask you, can you show us your real West slide? Because
yeah. I'm sorry.
That's all.
I forgot to change the slides there, so I skipped over it pretty fast, unfortunately. Sorry about that. This is, well, I mean, the real is within quotation marks. These are the countries that have been providing military assistance to Ukraine. So you see, it's the Anglo-Saxon nations, it's most of the European Union countries, but not all. So Austria and Hungary haven't been providing military assistance, which is interesting when you look at the history these countries have together, the Austro-Hungarian Empire, so, but for different reasons, of course. Austria because of its long-standing neutrality, etc., and all that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Did you have any question about?
Yes, I think Ekrem has another question, and it will be the last one.
Yeah, thank you very much for your perfect presentation. I would like to ask that, was possible to avoid this war, or US would like to start a proxy war?
Okay, so it seems that it was not. I don't know what would have taken for this war to be avoided. I think it was just a calculation on behalf of the Russian authorities of the Putin government, that they would be able to change government in Kiev with their military intervention, sort of like the Soviet Union behaved in their allied states back in the Cold War. But that just didn't happen. I think it was a pretty close call. I think it could have gone either way. It was just a twist of fate that they didn't succeed in this. But when the West, I think when the West saw that Ukraine could withstand this onslaught, I think it encouraged the West significantly, and the US to help Ukraine, at least stop the Russians and aid them in humiliating them. So could it have been avoided? I mean, that is just a question I think Putin can answer. But I mean, and I say I think a proxy war is familiar. It's a familiar thing for us and for the West. So yeah, it's in that way it's not an unusual situation.
Thank you. And I will ask my question still. What do you think, because there are speculated and talked about a lot of alternatives. And
yes.
In one end, this war will end somehow. What do you think is most potential to end it? These sets of restrictions, military force, or intervention, discussion for peace from China, or as China, with China as moderator, with the Turkey as moderator, coming to a table and talking there. What you think? Maybe you have another alternative.
No, yeah, well, everything ends eventually. Even the solar system will come to an end.
Let's hope we'll not end with the solar system, the war.
But
it would be very grave.
It can take wars can. I mean, stalemates can last for a very long time.
Yes, we know Palestine. You mentioned it.
Yes. So I'm not sure this war will end anytime soon. How it could end? Well.
Not well for Ukraine.
I don't think. Yeah, I mean, it could end in a peace agreement, which I find unlikely at the time. What would the peace agreement entail? Would it entail Ukraine giving up some regions like Crimea or even these Donbass regions? Would that be something? I don't think so. At least not how it is now, and at least not with the amount of military power and prowess that the Ukrainians have at the moment. Will they win? What will it take for them to win? More air power, perhaps? Is that something that the West is willing to provide? I'm not sure. But I think a stalemate is the most likely
solution and end to this.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
Thank you very much, Magnus. I think the presentation you gave us was very interesting and raised a lot of questions. Rose them. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And with this, the plenary session will end here. Thank you very much to you all for being together with us. Indeed, a very, very interesting period we spent together today. I thank all 8 keynote speakers who found time for us and were here together. And I thank you all again for being together and listening and proving that you are patient and understanding, and hope that next year we will see together again. Let's hope for a meeting, I don't know, in real, but also these, as Mara said, we will turn at one point to these online, and let's hope that we will not live in metaverse, but sometimes we will have these meetings together. I thank you again. I wish you all the best, and from Monday on I will provide you with all the documents from the conference. Thank you again for everything. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Take care
Bye.
of you. Take care of you.
Bye bye. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
It's a pleasure to
Goodbye.
have you all here.
Bye.
Thank you very much. Bye, Andre.
Goodbye.
Bye. Bye.
Here.
Catalina.
Yes, Mara, please.
The parallel sessions were
they will start now.
They will start
now. They will in the program,
okay.
in the
I
schedule.
don't know, maybe
they will start, yes, from 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock.
Okay,
if
okay.
less, this is the choice between the presenters and the moderators.
Okay.
But
maybe
the
I will not
panels,
be able to attend because I have to
it's
attend
no
another
problem.
Italian conference, a Sidrea conference.
No, it is
accountants.
real, no problem, Mara.
Okay.
Everything is arranged, and we finish this, and we will have a workshop also. My colleagues know, dedicated to PhD students in Romanian. So we will meet soon. Also during the panels. Yeah.
And
thank
do you
very
need
much.
from the keynote speakers? Do you need abstract? No, Catalina.
Yes, it would be great if you provide me with the abstract of your presentations.
I don't know if it's necessary or only for the PhD.
As you want, because I will rearrange the program of the conference in a final format. Yes. and the book of abstracts, and I will provide them to you all. So if you have time by Monday, when I will start working on the documents, I will wait from all of you keynote speakers.
A short one.
Yeah, the abstracts of your presentations. Thank you very much again.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you. Bye bye.
You are welcome. Bye. Take
Bye.
care. Bye.
Take
Bye.
care.